Sam Wilson is the founder and director of Arena Stage. He's a graduate of Douglas High School. He has his bachelor's from Coppin State, his master's in education from Boston University. In 1979, he received the New York Golden Circle Award at the Black Theater Festival. That's all I know about you. You can make it better.
All right. Thank you.
And I know you know what to do with these.
Yeah. I suppose it's... Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear?
You put it on there.
Try. Okay. Okay. I am very happy to be here on this rainy, wet morning. My schedule seemed to have gotten so crowded that I didn't get a chance to get back in touch with Miss Miller. She has called me regularly, frequently. I've gotten to the point I recognize her voice when she begins to talk. So I think we really have gotten to be old friends. I am happy to be here because there are some things that I probably will be able to tell you which are new information, and other things that are part of history, the past. I finished Boston University in 1953 with a master's degree in education, but my courses were so scheduled during the time I was studying that I had free afternoons, and I couldn't see being that far away from home and not using that time beneficially. I lived with cousins of mine in Boston and in North Cambridge, and they couldn't understand why I wanted to spend the afternoons or the evenings banging on a typewriter, as they called it, instead of going out partying. You have to party when you go to Boston. And I didn't want to, because I really didn't enjoy their friends or the kinds of things they wanted to do. I became involved with the theater courses at Boston University. And that was where I got a real inspiration to lead a theater group. In Baltimore, we were still segregated as far as theater was concerned, and there were places where my people couldn't go and sit in the audience and feel comfortable because people would ask you not to come. There were certain groups that sponsored plays at the community theaters, the Vagabonds, the Spotlighters, and others, that didn't want any black people in the audience. So I was able to make quite interesting friends among the staff and the theater people and find out some things that I didn't learn at Boston University. I was treated cordially. All the questions that I had were answered, but I was told very frankly that I wasn't wanted or could not be permitted to view the plays or to become a part of the company, any of the companies. Well, I didn't become bitter about that. I just thanked them for their help because they had helped. And then I went about in the black community and began to recruit people who had had similar experiences to mine, who had studied theater in college or university, and we organized a company. That was 1953. Our company has grown, our scope and our program has developed. We have instituted a regular program of 7 plays every year. We have been in since 1953. We have a youth theater. Youngsters, we're training them from 5 years old up to 18 in a youth division of our theater, and they present at least 2 productions every year. The interesting thing about the beginning of the theater group is that at the beginning, we had more people on stage than we had in the audience. Frequently, we'd have a cast of 7, 8, 10, 12 people acting a play, and an audience of 3, 4, 2, sometimes 1. But we continued to present the plays. The ticket prices in those days were $1.10. Now the ticket prices are $15 for musicals and $10 for dramas. Even the children's program asks for ticket prices of $5 or more. But we had very, very pleasant times at the beginning of the organization. We started our productions on the campus of Coppin State College. That was in the days when that whole area was very sylvan, very rural almost. It was pastoral, it was beautiful. Place where on a Sunday afternoon you could stroll around and there were trees and squirrels and birds and all of those. That was before Mondawmin was presented. And then that became a highly trafficked metropolitan urban area, and things zip back and forth through there. Be careful if you try to cross Warwick Avenue, just going across the street. But in those days there were small cottages on the campus of Coppin State College, and there was one big gray building that had been the home of the deaconesses, I think, for the Lutheran Church. And that building was transformed into the headquarters for Coppin State, with all of the classrooms in the office. The administrative offices were all located in that one building. And scattered around the campus were some small, very picturesque buildings, the kind that you see on postcards, the kind that you look at lovingly during the summer vacation and say, wouldn't it be nice to settle down here? Well, those things are all gone, every last one of them. There's nothing that would remind you of the fact that this used to be a wooded looking area, that this was like going into the country. Sunday afternoons, when we did performances, we came out between matinee and evening performance and just sat around and had picnics on the grass there. It was so pleasant. Well, after a while of using this building, the college decided to restructure its physical education program, and they decided that they were going to remodel the building. When they remodeled the building, they asked us not to come back because they needed the space. Well, it wasn't too much longer after that that they also decided they'd tear the building down, which is one of the ironies of modernization in our country. We moved from the campus of Coppin State College down to the YMCA on Druid Hill Avenue, in the 1500 block of Druid Hill Avenue. It's been there forever and ever and ever. But the Y became an integrated institution, and the people downtown were welcoming anybody from uptown who wanted to come. And everybody wanted this brand new experience going to the big Y downtown, so they deserted the one on Druid Hill Avenue. And it became almost a barn. We went and we finally got a chance to take one of the rooms and transform it into our theater. So we moved there. Now this is an interesting thing about the kind of industry and dedication that the members of the group had. We had to put up everything, lights, scenery, all the equipment that you need to present a play every night, and take it down every night, including the folding chairs in which the audience sat. Because the room had to be used by a group of little boys, I don't know what they were, one of the pre-steps before you get to the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts or somebody even earlier than that. But the room had to be cleared every night, so that meant that after you had wired all the lights and put up all the scenery and put up all the chairs and put up all the equipment that you needed, you had to clear all of that away so that the room could be left absolutely clean at the end of the evening, which meant that we spent from 6 to 2 in the morning every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But we did it, and we did it for several years. And then suddenly the Y became so popular because of our activities that other groups decided they would come, and suddenly there were dance lessons being held at the Y, and there were exercise lessons being held at the Y, and the popularity began to come back. And the next thing the people said to us was, "We're sorry, but we need the space, so could you find somewhere else?" Well, for 1 year, we went to the Great Hall of the church to which I belong, which I have belonged all my life, and I almost lost my religion in that 1 year, because the priest and I didn't have a good relationship when it came to, what are they doing turning on the lights up there? There's too much electricity being used. Who left their cigarette in this? What's the matter with, and on and on and on and on, we had hassles. And so I said, no, let's move from the church hall. We will have to go find our own location. And we looked around and we found what had formerly been the church hall to St. Mary's Church, the one to which I belong, down on Orchard Street at 406 Orchard Street. There had been the church across the street from the hall. We moved into the place on a lease, and then we borrowed enough money, got together enough money among the membership to buy the building. So for $10,000 we bought the building, and then we began performing on the second floor of the building. It wasn't very much of a surprise to us when the fire marshal and the housing people all came through with a long list of violations. Oh, no, you have to bring it. It has to come downstairs or else. Well, we had no money to bring it downstairs. We had just scraped all of our money together to buy a building. And we were very proud landlords. It's a 3-story building. It has a lot of space and a lot of history. I've heard tales that during World War I, they had kept horses on the 3rd floor. Now, I don't know how that was possible, except that there was a big thing that looked like a hoist out in back, and somebody said they used to strap equipment onto the horses and lift them up into the air to the 3rd floor. Well, I couldn't get heads or tails of that story, but we're still trying to investigate it. If there are any people around who know any more about it, we'd like to know some more of the history. But we bought the building. We ran into the fire marshals. We were about ready to be closed because of these violations, and we invited the mayor, William Donald Schaefer, to come to see a production. He was so enthusiastic about this production, and it impressed him so much that we presented to him the problem that we were having, and he decided he would do something to give us some help. So there was financial aid that came from the city through one of the block grants. That particular money was used to move the theater downstairs. So we got rid of some of those violations. Then when we moved downstairs, we found we had 2,000 other problems, because now you got a new kind of theater, you have to have new equipment, you have to bring many other things up to standard. So we went into a fundraising drive, and we were very, 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 very fortunate to have a man who was a businessman and knew what he was doing lead us in that drive, and that was Henry Parks from Parks Sausages. They don't send people like that along too frequently, and we miss him greatly because of his knowledge, his expertise. I hate that word because it's so worn out, but he knew how to handle a dollar and what to do with it, where to get it, number one, where to get it, how to use it, and how to check on what was being done with the money. He was a wonderful businessman, an inspiration to all of us, and a patron of the arts. When we were selling $1.10 tickets, Henry would come in and buy 50 tickets and say, give them away to somebody. He'd donate $100 at the drop of a hat. He believed in the theater. He was not anxious to get on stage. Many times people believe and they will be a patron as long as you let them have the lead role in something, or you give them a chance to dance out in front of the chorus. But He wasn't interested in performing. He was interested in encouraging other people who were interested in it. He gave money and led us on the drive, so we raised over $500,000. With that, we got matching grants from the city and the state. You know how that game goes. You get somebody to match this one, and that one matches another one. And after you learn that game, then you're many more steps ahead. And we had renovations done on the building. We changed the entrance to the building around to a much fancier entrance than 406 Orchard Street. We came around the corner on McCulloh Street, and we have 801 McCulloh Street as our entrance now. The major building is there, and additions have been put on the back, which includes dressing rooms, showers, the second floor, which has studios, art, music, dance studios with mirrored walls and the bar and all of those things. Dressing rooms, showers and lavatories for the performers. And the third floor, which has offices and storage spaces, dressing, costume room, prop room, and all of those things. So we have a rather compact set of spaces designed into the three-story building, the annex on the back and the front, which is a new entrance, and we have in the lobby to the new entrance an art gallery, so that we are able to display the works of young people, young ambitious artists. One young man whose works whose exhibit we just dismantled has just recently, during the exhibit, sold a painting to the National Education Association for about $9,000, and that was a nice little piece of change in his pocket, because he had been a couple of weeks before that running around trying to borrow money for a cup of coffee. And I know he welcomed that opportunity. He also has a set of prints that are on sale, and they were selling for $30 a piece. We put the order blank in the ad in the lobby, and many people bought copies of this print. So we have provided opportunities for people on stage as well as in the art gallery. Now, about the program, we have done all kinds of drama. We try to encourage black playwrights, because there are not too many places where their plays will be exhibited. Not a lot of them have success in the commercial theater, but artistically they have to be given the opportunity to be heard. And so therefore we give them the chance to present their plays. There are several that we have shepherded through the stages of having them read and listened to, and bringing the playwright in and having him make comments, having the people praise him or attack him, depending on how they feel that particular night, present their plays to the audience, and to give them an opportunity to hear what the public feels about the things that they're saying. But we haven't been limited to presenting the works of black playwrights. As I said the other day to somebody who was asking me, we've done everything but Shakespeare. And they want to know, well, why did you say but? We have done everybody's works. Shaw, Miller, Chekhov, I don't care who it is. We have tried it. We have done many of them very, very successfully. But there is something about preparing the audience to enjoy Shakespeare. You have to hypnotize the audience. You have to make them enjoy it. I went just recently to see Avery, what is his name? Avery, who was on television. I can't think what his last name is. Brooks, that's it, Avery Brooks, to see him do Othello. And it was fascinating to see the audience lean like they were watching a good detective story. You know how they get right into the television set. And this is the way the audience at the Folgers was reacting to his fine acting. But he had so finely honed what he was doing. His craft is so well done, well disciplined. His interpretation is so clear that any audience would be able to understand it. So that it takes the actor an inordinate amount of time to prepare Shakespeare. I don't see just handing somebody a script and saying, after 6 weeks we're going to do so-and-so. No, There's a lot of study that needs to go into it, and that is something that I think we need to do, prepare the actors first and then prepare the audience so that it will be appreciated. What we do will be appreciated. Realistic dramas about life in the black segment of our community, no problem with most of our audiences because most of our audiences are black. And they understand everything that the actor even hints at. They may be 2 steps ahead of there. I know. You can hear. Black audiences talk back to the actors. They become involved in what's going on. And sometimes when there is a different type of audience and they don't become involved, the actors sometimes become disturbed. What's the matter with them? They're not reacting. They're so cold. It may be a different, these can be even black people, but if they are not moving on the same wavelength as the writer and the actor, then sometimes the actors have to be told that all audiences don't react the same way. We have had dramas, musicals particularly, about the church. We did Langston Hughes' Tambourines to Glory. And in it there is a minister. And she walks down to the edge of the stage and asks, is there anybody who wants to join the church tonight? Is there anybody? And by the time she gets through very hypnotically saying, is there anybody? Somebody usually gets up, not knowing what they're doing, and gets up and comes forward or catches themselves getting ready to get up. So that we have frequently had people who made it all the way to the stage. But we have warned the men who are playing deacons on the stage, be ready to escort the lady off into the wings so that she will not be embarrassed. Because it happened. It has happened. We passed tambourines down for collection plates. And they were singing a hymn and the audience had joined in. They passed the tambourines down and people went down in their pockets and put money in the tambourines. And I said, we've got them. We have got them. We wrapped them up. It is, and it's the kind, some of them are the kinds of plays where the characters don't come out of character, the actors don't come out of character, but they can go to the door and shake hands. It's like church service. We've had people to say, where is your church? I want to visit. And you know, you have to break that illusion to let them know that you don't really have a church. You're an actor portraying a pastor, a minister, and that this is one of the things that you have learned to do well, that they do enjoy being able to participate and get into whatever the roles happen to be. I brought some copies of things that we've done, and I'd like to pass them around to you. Booklets and programs. That'll be good. A couple of words and then I'll shut up so that you can ask questions. We tried to put out a yearbook at the end of a season to give people an idea of what has happened during that season, and we usually do it in conjunction with an awards banquet. And we've had some very illustrious people to whom we have presented awards. The last award banquet that we had was this past May, and Al Freeman Jr., who now works at Howard University, but you may be familiar with him as detective lieutenant in One Life to Live, or one of those soap operas. I'm not a fan, but he was on this soap opera for a long, long time, but he now teaches drama at Howard University. He was given an award. And there was an award given to the young man who's organized the Drama Festival in North Carolina, which has become a national black theater festival. Larry Leon Hamlin organized this festival, and people come from all over the country to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for a week's festivities. I went this year, and it was fascinating to be able to get on the elevator with Esther Roll and say hello to Lou Gossett and have cocktails with Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee, and they were all just ordinary people. They were very, very friendly, but they were very knowledgeable, and they were able to share the things that they had been through with the rest of the people there. There were forums, excerpts, readings, exhibits, and it was a very, very wonderful period of time. 1 week in August. It happens every other year, and it's the Black Theater Festival. The pictures that you have are shots, most of them head shots. I didn't find too many action shots. And I did have some film and some slides, but I decided not to lug that out in the rain. But there may be questions that you'd want to ask, because maybe I haven't touched any of the questions that you have. I haven't given you any of the information that you'd like to have. So I will be very willing to answer any questions. Yes?
What do you think of some of the black plays and players that Center Stage has done?
Peter and I have had great long discussions. One thing that I have railed about is the fact that Center Stage casts its plays in New York, and local actors, black or white, don't get a fair shake. They don't. There are talented people here. There are people that I've seen. You have to go away to get cast or become a member of their company and come back. You're brought back. I don't like. I'm happy that that they have the money to be able to bring from the New York stage some of the talented casts that they have had in the plays that they presented. As I've said in the discussions, I don't know that Center Stage is the spot for some of those plays to make their debut in the Baltimore area. I don't know that they are well enough understood. I am not certain that the people who are subscribers, regular subscribers, and have been to Center Stage want to see those plays. And I'm sure that if you go into an audience situation with a resentment, you can't win the approval. You got to do an awful lot of performing to change people's minds when they go into the audience situation, saying, I don't want to see this.
A lot of people do enjoy some of these.
I'm sure.
I've been there.
I've seen some things that I was happy that they were able to bring, because it would have been 2 or 3 years from now before we could afford to do that particular play because of the royalties and the kinds of arrangements that they make. I did not like Miss Evers' Boys. The thing about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment that was done, I didn't like it because I didn't like the ending. They put me through 2.5 hours of pure torture. And I mean torture. I'm one of those fans or people in the audience who comes out exhausted. You know, I went to see Charles Dutton in the piano lesson, and he ran around that stage so much and became so involved. He was so active, and if you get a chance to, please see it, because August Wilson has got a theme running through his plays, and you'll become aware of the spirituality of this man. But Dutton ran around that stage so much, when piano lesson was over, the audience stood up to applaud, and I said, just let me sit here and get my breath, get myself together, because I was worn out. I was exhausted. After all of what they put me through in Miss Evers' Boys, Then they end the play up with something that looks like a minstrel show. People smiling and dressed in white suits and shaking tambourines and giving you one of this kind of stuff. That made no sense to me. The play was realistic up to that moment, and it indicated to me that these are happy darkies going off to heaven. You know, that this was all they wanted. They had finally gotten their chance to sing and dance. I resented it. I really resented it because I thought this was such a serious play and talked about a real problem that they didn't have any business ending it like that. It was a tragedy, and they needed to leave us crying. Don't try to make us laugh. It was really serious. Most of the things that I've seen, I have enjoyed. I have made my voice known about the kind of selections that they made, the interpretations, but I enjoy the fact that they have the money to go get some of the things that we wouldn't see in this region unless we went to New York. Anyone else?
Are most of the people in the company doing this full-time, or are they doing it?
That's the remarkable thing about us. There are no paid employees in our company. And somebody said, why would you want to spend 39 years of your life and not get paid for it? I love it. I love it. And I think, I'm afraid that if they offered me, they say, I teach at Coppin State College, and if they said to me, give up the teaching and come and run the company, we'll pay you so and so and so, I think then it would become a headache. I really believe, I suspect that I would feel tied to it. And when I got ready to say, I'm going to California, or I think I'll spend a weekend in Canada, or I wouldn't feel right. I'm so into the work ethic that says you're supposed to be there, you got a job, you're supposed to be there, that I'd have a problem with being paid and saying, oh, I can't do this to the people. I mean, I'm stealing this money, you know. It's the business of volunteering for 35 years. I have people who are with me now who were in the first production, who were there for the first production. People come and go. They come and they bring their children back. We've got mothers and daughters and fathers and sons working together. The mother said, and I knew the mother before she was married, and she said, did you ever think the day would come when I'd be on this stage listening to my daughter tell me what to do? She said, and I can't say anything. I have to shut up. I've been trying to teach her this is what a good actress listens to the director. Now the daughter is directing, the mother is performing in the play. And it's an honestly interesting combination because you see her bite her tongue every once in a while. She wants to say, all right, thank you very much, and she'll try that. But it is interesting.
What's on for this season?
Well, we have, the next play is a shocker. It's by Charles Fuller, who wrote A Soldier Story. This is about a young man, well, a hoodlum, who lives in the neighborhood who is responsible for killing a little girl. It's right out of the headlines of today's papers. And it's called Zoo Man and the Sign. Zoo Man and the Sign. He terrorizes the neighborhood and no one will identify him. They are terrorized of him. They are afraid that if they tell who he is and what he has done, that they won't last very long. I listened to the television last night and the drug thing that they've got, the ring they've got around a certain section of the city. And I understand that they ask people, well, why haven't you been reporting what's going on? You know what's going on in your neighborhood. And they said, no, I'm not going to report it because they'll blow my head off. They know who will blow their heads off. That's the thing about it. It would be something different if it weren't, if the fact weren't that they know the criminals, they know the assailants, they know the terrorists, and they know that the terrorists know them. So that this next play, Zoo Man and the Sign, and I have advertised that it is for mature audiences only, It has strong language in it, street language in it, but it very, very vividly shows the problem. What we're going to do at dress rehearsal, which is, oddly enough, Halloween night, we're going to invite social agencies or directors, people directing programs that have to do with juveniles, with the behavior of adolescent behavior, things of that nature. We're going to invite them to come to the dress rehearsal so that they will get what's like a preview of the whole thing and be able to tell whether or not they want to bring clients, teenagers, do they want to use it to spark discussion. And I think this is one play that where I want to have a discussion leader to follow up the play itself so that it doesn't just become entertainment. I don't want people to go out and forget what the problem is and the reason we selected it. We have I think, let me see, there was maybe it's in here. Yeah. This, we started with Blues in the Night, which is a musical, and it was about 3 women who sang the blues because they had problems with their men. The Zoo Man and the Sign is the second one. That begins November 1st. Dress rehearsal October 31st. Then we're going to do the presentation that the Youth Theater is going to do is Christmas is Coming Uptown. It's a loose, very loose adaptation of Dickens' A Christmas Carol. I'm a little tired of people adapting Christmas Carol. They ought to leave it alone, but this is one more time. So we decided it demands a cast of thousands, and we have that many children, so we need to find something to put them all in. In January, there's a play by Judy Ann Mason, who's a young playwright, called A Star Ain't Nothing But a Hole in Heaven. And I like it because it has very, very warm characters. 2 young girls who are 16 or 17 who are getting ready to graduate from high school. They live in Louisiana, and they have made up their minds that they are not going to stay and spend the rest of their lives in Louisiana. They are going up north to Ohio to go to college. One of the young girls has been raised by an old woman and her husband who have called themselves foster parents to her. They rescued her out of a fire that killed her mother, and they raised this girl. And the old woman is in bad shape physically, and the man pretends that he can't see. That's a question all the way through the play. We don't know whether he really can't see or whether he is using that as a kind of gimmick for sympathy. But anyway, when she graduates from high school, the man says, well, good, now you graduated, you can go get yourself a job so you can help us. And the woman says no, she is going away to go to school. It is a very warm story of ambition, of control, of love in backwoods of Louisiana. And this one is A Star Ain't Nothing But a Hole in Heaven. Senator Sir, which is going to be presented in February, is a story about Hiram Revels, who was the first black senator. He was from Mississippi. R-E-V-E-L-S, Hiram Revels. He went to complete a term during the period of Reconstruction, to complete a term in the United States Senate. And his wife fell madly in love with Washington and life in Washington, which was much, 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 much better than life in Mississippi. And she wanted to stay in Washington, so she told him he needs to run for re-election. He did not want to. He didn't feel that that was his mission in life. He had noticed that he didn't have any backup or any information coming from Mississippi because there were so few trained people in Mississippi, and he thought his mission was to go and become an educator. And he returned to Mississippi to found a college to help educate voters and so forth in order to send some other people to the United States Senate. That's Senator Sir. And in the blink of an eye is a story about a man whose neighbors all turn on him because he attacks some skinheads who attack his house. Both of these and the last play that we're having in the season, Tapered in the Back, which is about a barbershop experience, were all written by black writers here in the city, local talent, and they were entered into the WMAR contest that happens every year. The first place play is always televised. The second, third, and honorable mention are handed a check and say thank you, and that's the end of, you don't ever see that script again. And the people sometimes re-enter them to try again. But what we have done is we have decided to take those plays and to add to them, because they're written as 1-hour television scripts, to add to them and then to present them on stage to bring them to life. And the authors are very, very pleased and very happy about it. We held off announcing what the mystery was because we tried to find a mystery that was interesting. We have looked in everything we could possibly look in, and what we did was to go back to the old traditional Samuel French catalog, and we came up with Angel Street, which was Gaslight in the movies. So that would be our one big expensive production, because we're going to have to costume it in the period. We're going to have special effects, the business of the lights going up and down, if you can remember that. And that is a part of the plan, not to go completely in any one direction. I want to leave the doors open for the actors and for the performers, for the directors, and their theater background needs to be completely open so that they will be able to experience all kinds of theater. We go as a group to visit theaters in the Washington, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York area, so that they will not get to the point. I try not to let our members get to the point where they think that what they're doing is it. You need to look outside your house and see what the people next door are doing. And so we get together in excursions and go to visit other theaters and to see what other people are doing. That's it? Yes, ma'am.
Would you tell us when the plays are presented? Are they weekends? Are they
weekends? Right. I don't know how many copies of this I have, but I'll leave this. The program is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we do a Sunday matinee at 2:30 and a Sunday evening performance at 7:30. The theater has a parking lot adjacent to the building. If you know where Martin Luther King Boulevard is, then it's right at the corner of Martin Luther King Boulevard and McCulloh Street. That's between Madison Avenue, Druid Hill Avenue, if you know where the state office buildings are, down in that particular area. Thank you very, very much for having me here. I'm glad I got here before.
I'm glad you finally got here. Sorry we gave you such awful weather.
That's all right.
But thank you very much.
There you go.
Okay. Can you sign something? Can you sign something?